Alright, so this is going to be an update on KDA. The last video I made on this was March 2nd, so that was prior to taking out this high over here. And we have some things to talk about. I want to go over market cipher. I want to go over, how this move above this very important high is looking so far. And spoiler alert, I'll say right now that it is not looking great. And because of that, I want to plan out some support levels in case we start to retrace here. So, firstly, I was looking at weekly market structure here, and I was looking at this lower high that we put in before this lower low, and back when I made the last video, we had just SFP'd this lower high, and we were starting to get a move back up towards this wick high, and so far we have only SFP'd that. We have just left wicks above that on the weekly time frame, and even on the daily time frame, we originally wicked it out. We had SFPs, we couldn't close candles above it. We barely closed a candle above it here, and just recently we came up to SFP the high again. So if you're staircasing your breaks, we never got a break on the daily time frame, even though we did close some candles up here. So you can argue that maybe it is a break on the daily time frame, but my point is that it's not looking great. This isn't a convincing break to me yet. And looking through market cipher quick, we do also have some potentially bearish signs here. We do have a slight bear div on the weekly time frame as we just took out this high, and it looks like this is about to print a red dot. The VWAP is curving down, with a pretty decent inward curvature, and the wave is clipping off. So it looks like we're about to print a slight bear div in momentum. Also, money flow is starting to hook over a little bit. And on the daily, we also have some bearish divergences, a bit more clear bearish divergences. Originally, we had a bear div from that wick to this wick, and then that continued when we got a local bearish divergence as we just took out the high again. We got another bear div, and we can also see that we have a bear div with money flow. Money flow is kind of overall curving to the downside right now, putting in lower highs as price is putting in higher highs. And, the higher highs that it's putting in are not very convincing. So that's kind of a bearish sign, in my opinion, at least locally speaking. And, maybe it only calls for a short-term retracement before it kind of, recoups some momentum and ends up going higher. And on the midterm time frames, we also see money flow coming out. On the 4-hour, it crossed into the red and is continuing to put in lower lows, it seems. So yeah, it is continuing the overall downtrend. And right now, VWAP is hooking over again. It looked like KDA was trying to get a little bounce here, but ultimately money flow is trending lower, VWAP's curving over, so maybe we see some more downside here. Yeah, it looks like overall we may see a bit of a retracement here. Money flow on some of these midterm time frames is looking pretty weak, especially on this 1 hour. It's a bit unclear. And, again, I think this has a lot to do with what Bitcoin does. Bitcoin is kind of at a decision point as well. I see there is maybe potential for this VWAP to come up on the daily. Maybe money flow starts some sort of a local uptrend, and maybe things can turn around locally within this small range. I'm not counting out that idea. And basically, I'm just waiting until we hopefully get an aggressive break above these wick highs. That's kind of what I'm looking for. Or even just a weekly close above one of these wick highs. Ideally it's a higher close, but like even closing slightly above here, so that way at least you can say we got a break if you're staircasing. That is really what I want to see for me to start feeling macro bullish on this asset. There are some signs that you could argue should make you feel macro bullish, like weekly money flow moving to the upside, weekly momentum being above the 60 line right now. But, me personally, I'm a market structure guy. At least I have been for the past year or so. And with weekly market structure, basically at the lows of, its price action, there's a whole lot of upside potential above it. In my mind, it's like, why not wait for those more clear confirmations? And, again, I don't know what this asset is. I don't know what it does or what it's supposed to do or what it says it does. I don't, do fundamental analysis. Or, I'll say 9 out of 10 of the spot plays that I make with altcoins are not based on fundamentals, at least for the most part. And even if fundamentals play a part in it, I still enter with a technical plan. by using technical analysis. I don't just buy something because I feel bullish about it one day. So if you're fundamentally bullish about KDA and you've been accumulating already, if you were fundamentally bullish about it back in late 2023, then you're doing pretty well for yourself already. But this channel and the way I trade is based around technical analysis. So with that being said, I would say I'm not necessarily completely sold on macro bullishness for KDA until we can at least close a weekly candle above this wick, or whatever is the last wick. If we come up and wick it again, then it's going to be that high. But basically, I want to see a weekly bullish break. And so far, I mean, maybe if you're not staircasing, you could argue that we had a weekly bullish break. So without getting into the nitty-gritty of it, I'll just say that I'm not exactly sold on this counting as a bullish break, especially since, this last push to the upside was only wicks as well. And the fact that we're seeing some bullish signs, pretty much across the board from the weekly to the midterm timeframes, we're seeing some local bearish signs. But regardless of if I'm macro bullish on it or not, that doesn't mean I'm not going to look for long opportunities if I see them on a lower time frame, or potentially even opportunities to accumulate at a reasonable price with a reasonable plan. And I would start off by saying that if we do start retracing from here, I think the first decision point is going to be this low, because we do have some kind of market structure going like this. So this is a higher low of sorts. And breaking down below that would lead to a retracement further into this larger range. And I would say, honestly, you probably don't want to lose this low right here. I think if you lose this range, you could, potentially put in a higher low before coming all the way back down to this low. But, I really wouldn't trust anything in this area. At that point, I think coming back down to this low is in the cards. So you really don't want to lose this range low. So I'm going to be focusing on the support levels within this range. And when I was looking at this earlier, I did see some nice confluence right below this important higher low. We have a golden pocket right below it. And also, I believe if you take an anchored VWAP from this low, that happens to line up pretty nicely. And maybe we can check some other anchored VWAPs. And shout out to Flopping Groper. I've been using the anchored VWAP a lot more because of him. So if you haven't already, you should check out his YouTube channel. That's at Cipher. And I actually have an interview on this channel. If you guys haven't seen this already, this went up about a month ago. It was an opportunity that I couldn't turn down. Flopping Groper is a guy that I've watched, pretty much since I started trading back in 2021. He's an OG of the space. And it was really cool that he reached out and offered to do an interview and post it on his channel as well as the Market Cipher channel. And I will say that things went far from perfect. This was my first time ever doing a video without the safety net of editing, so that put me out of my comfort zone a little bit. Also, I failed to realize how bad my mic sounds without OBS filters. But I think there's something you can download where you can run your mic through OBS before it goes to Discord, so I'm going to have to look into that. But yeah, overall there were definitely some hiccups, but it was really cool. I'm glad I got to do this video. And yeah, Flopping Groper's been killing it. He actually just posted a video about anchored VWAPs. So check out his channel if you haven't already. But anyways, back to KDA. So I like the confluence with the golden pocket. I think, if we're going to continue retracing from here, the first potential support zone would be around this low, potentially SFPing that into this area of confluence. And maybe there's even a bit more confluence here if we take a fixed range of this range and I actually pull it to the correct spot. So yeah, we do have some value area high confluence actually pretty perfectly with the golden pocket. So I like this zone. I like the fact that we can, SFP into that area and, still maintain this smaller range. So we don't have to break out of this range to get to this point. So this area would really be my first point of interest for support. And, that is an idea that I think could be more bullish in the short term. And I think if we don't find support there, then, at that point, we're probably coming down to around this point of control and this 786. And, interestingly enough, if I go down to the cycle low, and if I put an anchored VWAP right there, this anchored VWAP just so happens to be in the vicinity of this point of control. So, if we do end up breaking this, more local range, if we start working our way down here, there's a good chance that by the time we get here, we may have some confluence with this anchored VWAP as well. So, this area in between, 1.15 and like 1.11, that's probably my point of interest number 2. And I think it would look better if we found support in either of those areas. It's usually not a good look when you start losing point of controls, and I don't think it would be a good look to lose this anchored VWAP, which, starting from the, at least cycle low, I don't know if this is all-time low or not, but starting from this significant low, we have not broken down below this anchored VWAP. So I think these two areas are going to be very important supports. And, I think there's a good chance that if we start losing this anchored VWAP, this point of control, sure, potentially we end up finding support somewhere and still putting in a higher low relative to this one. But, there's a good chance that if we don't find support in this area, that we may be coming for this low and potentially, losing this larger range if we end up closing below it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a box around these areas that I'm interested in. And there we go. These are my support areas, and these are the coordinates for these boxes. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say about Kadena, however you pronounce it. Alright, thank you everybody for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider showing some support to the channel by leaving a like, subscribing, leaving a comment. If you want to suggest an altcoin that you want me to take a look at, leave it in the comments. I may take a look at it, I may not. And with that being said, I will see you all in the next video.